Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you all so much for being here with me today. So in this video, I wanted to talk all about what flower essences are and how we can really use these very gentle vibrational remedies to support our spiritual growth and support positive emotional states, again, in a very gentle way. And again, really just aid in our overall spiritual development. There are so many flower essences that you can work with, so I want to talk about some of them today and some of the benefits. So if you've ever been curious about flower essences or just the overall world of homeopathy, which is a very, very interesting kind of system of holistic medicine that does differ from just straight up herbalism or even, essential oils, then you might find this interesting because homeopathy is super fascinating. And when you understand, just how effective a subtle remedy is, you really realize that, we can use these very holistic natural remedies, to heal ourselves. Ultimately we are creatures of the earth and we come from nature, and we should be using these natural remedies again to aid in our overall not just physical health, but overall spiritual and emotional growth, which is what so much of what my videos are about. So again, as I've mentioned, flower essences are very, very subtle remedies. They are very different from essential oils. So essential oils, sometimes some people can kind of get them confused, especially because the bottle might sometimes look a little similar to an essential oil bottle, but they're actually very, very different, and you definitely don't want to be using flower essences in the same way that you would essential oils, because essential oils are incredibly concentrated plant extracts, and you want to use them with care because they are so concentrated. And flower essences are actually the opposite in terms of just how incredibly subtle and gentle they are, but that doesn't mean they're not effective, because they just work on what's kind of referred to as the subtle body in yoga, right? This is the, in yogic therapy, we have different kind of sheets, we have different bodies, and this kind of system of holistic healing is really what's most effective on our subtle body. So again, it's very subtle and it's very gentle, but when used appropriately and when you select the correct one, depending on your emotional state, you really have the ability to elevate your overall consciousness, and again, encourage many positive emotional states. There are flower essences that you can use for so many emotional states, like overcoming fear, lack of confidence, nervousness, so many different emotional states that, again, there are flower essences that have the kind of like opposite positive emotional state that you can use to support your overall well-being. They are very, very gentle remedies. As I mentioned, you can take them multiple times a day, in your mouth. You can add them to water and take them straight. There are even flower essences that you can give to pets too. So again, they are very, very, very gentle. So again, they are liquid extracts that are used to address emotional and psychological issues. And what makes them different from essential oils is that they don't have this fragrance and this really kind of intense plant matter in them. The way that they are created is essentially through this really beautiful form of alchemy. You can actually make flower essences pretty easily yourself because they are so gentle. All you really need is a specific flower that you want to work with. There are, within the Bach line specifically, there are a certain amount of flowers to work with, but really they have expanded with the Flower Essence Society, I believe they're called, with having even more flowers to work with. So you just have to select the appropriate flower for your emotional state that you're wanting to work on. So for instance, if you want to improve confidence, I believe that would be wild rose. So that one would be a great one to use for promoting confidence, right? And you would just take You would take the flour that you want to work with and place it in spring water. You really want to be using spring, because this is what we used to do when kind of herbalism was being used, right, more regularly than it is now, right, when it was kind of like used in villages and whatnot for healing others. They would take actual spring water because that's what they would find, right, naturally around them in the land. And you would just take your flour that you want to work with and spring water, and you essentially, there's a process of using brandy to preserve it, kind of like after the fact. I have more information on how to actually make it in a blog post, but you would take the spring water and then you would take the flour, and you essentially just let it sit in the sun, in direct sunlight, for a certain amount of time. And it's through this really beautiful process of alchemy of the sun hitting the water, and therefore the flour being able to kind of transmit its vibrational frequency onto the water itself, again through the process of the sunlight, that you can then bottle this remedy up and take it yourself. So that's what makes it very, very gentle and effective, is essentially just actually spring water, and the medicinal component is the flour itself, of, you know, the imprint that it's left on the spring water. And there's usually just like a very, very, very small amount of brandy. It's like, really, I mean, even if you don't drink alcohol, it's completely safe to take because it's such a small amount. And this just helps preserve the liquid. So that's kind of the process of how you would make it, and then you would bottle it up. Again, this is just if you're wanting to make it yourself. I just kind of wanted to share how easy and fun it can be to make it yourself. Again, you just have to select the appropriate flour for your specific emotional state, and that's it. And then you could take it as often as you would like. So as I mentioned, you know, there's the Bach line. This is what's commonly found in a lot of kind of like health food stores and things like that. You can find it online. This is the kind of like original line that Edward Bach created, because he was the one who kind of like founded flower essences to begin with, and understood that there are so many emotional states. And he pretty much at the time was able to, through his line, I believe it was around like 38 flower essences that he was able to formulate based off of his patients and what he was seeing, and people who would come to him with various kind of emotional health issues, that he was able to create a complete line at the time of a certain amount of flower essences that he believed was all that was needed to really heal someone of whatever emotional issue they were facing. But since then, since his original line, there have been much more flower essences that you can now work with for so many more health issues. Some like really, really kind of niche and specific, some that you can take for really, really deep spiritual problems that really kind of help connect you to kind of really deep kind of sources of cosmic consciousness. It's really interesting when you look into certain ones. So again, really interesting when you learn more about that. And ideally, while flower essences were kind of intended to really kind of, help support short-term issues with your emotional state, they ideally facilitate kind of longer-term, more chronic or acute emotional states. So again, it just all comes back to how you work with them, how often you take them, and most importantly, selecting the right one for your specific emotional state that really is what is most concerning for you, right? So again, as I mentioned, I have some here that I really love to work with, and that I love to kind of have my clients take. A really popular one is this rescue remedy. It's good for stress, but specifically like immediate trauma that you might be facing. So if you just got into a really like immediate specific incident where you had a traumatic experience, then this is good to take. It really helps calm you down. And again, it's just a few drops under the tongue. You can take it like 4 to 5 times a day. And, there are so many ways to incorporate. You don't even have to just take it orally. You can add it to like a mister bottle or an essential oil bottle that you're already using. You could kind of spray it in your space, in your auric field. You can apply it directly to your skin. It's because it's so effective, or because it's so gentle, it really has the ability to be used in so many ways, right? Again, these are very different from essential oils. You don't have to dilute them or be really cautious, right, on how you actually work with them. So this is again a rescue remedy. It's really good for stress. It's a very, very common, popular one, and it's a blend of like about 4 to 5 different specific flower essences. So for instance, rock rose, cherry plum, Star of Bethlehem. This is again a very common one. Some of the other ones that I like are Serrata, which helps you trust your intuition. Mimulus is really, really good for fear. So if you're struggling with fear, which holds people back from, you know, pursuing a lot of their dreams and aspirations, that's a really good one. So that's kind of just all I want to share on flower essences. They're really, really beautiful, subtle remedies. They're so fun to take, and if you want to make them too, they can be really fun to make as well. And even in Ayurveda, there is what's known as marma points in your body, right? It's really kind of similar to if you've ever gotten acupuncture, right? There are what's known as like the kind of meridians in the body. There are so many different marma points, and you can even just apply them to specific marma points. You can anoint your third eye. You can just place it on, you know, your kind of crown chakra area. If you're having, again, issues with like confidence, you could take the one for confidence, and which would be lark, and rub it on your solar plexus area, the Manipura chakra. So there are just endless ways to work with them, and I do really like them. I of course love essential oils as well. As an aromatherapist, I love working with essential oils. They're so effective for so many different things. But flower essences, again, when we're specifically referring to emotional states and promoting and encouraging positive emotional states, they can just be so nice to use because they are very gentle, and you don't have to worry about any kind of, you know, using them too much or incorrectly or anything like that. They're really safe, again, around kids, around pets. I've even sometimes like added it to my cat with rescue remedy if she's ever feeling really stressed or anxious. So many ways to work with them, and they are just beautiful vibrational remedies from the earth, from nature, that again we can use for our own personal spiritual growth and development. So I just kind of wanted to give a little overview on flower essences. I hope this was helpful and insightful, and hopefully now you can use flower essences in your everyday wellness routine, you know, to incorporate positive emotional states and aid in your spiritual growth. I would love to know if you even know about what flower essences are, if you already kind of knew, and if you personally take them as well. I would love to know what your own personal experience with flower essences have been like. And again, if you haven't ever used them or heard of them, hopefully you can start taking them soon. And just a really fun fact is that traditionally flower essences were consumed from the dew on morning flowers. So if you've ever really kind of gotten up really early in the morning and have seen this kind of dew on plants, on grass, you know, you still see that even to this day. But historically, alchemists and all these kind of more indigenous medicine people and healers, they would send their patients to kind of consume this dew on the morning flowers, right? That again, that you know, you see these, I'm sure we've all seen them, right? They're usually just quite early in the morning, and they would have them just consume the dew on the specific flower that they were wanting to, you know, given the specific emotional state they were facing, they would have them go and go to that specific flower and have them consume the dew. Nowadays, we have obviously been able to capture them and bottle them easily for convenience purposes, but this is just kind of like a really fun fact, is that historically flower essences were just consumed straight from the dew of morning flowers. So I just think that's really interesting. That was it for today's video, and I will talk with you all soon. Bye.